Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Volkswagen T4 car. What engines were installed? The range of engines in the VW T4 seems to be quite rich if we look at their list, but some were offered before the facelift and others were not. Interestingly, there are units that are very outdated, but also those that do not seem to fit the character of the car at all. Before the facelift, archaic four-cylinder units were offered from today's perspective. In the petrol range, there were two to choose from, with capacities of 1.8 liters and 2.0 liters. The smaller one was available only at the beginning of production and was powered by a carburetor. It develops a dizzying 67 HP and hardly accelerates, but today it is a collector's item. For normal use, there is no worse unit. A more sensible 2-liter engine powered by injection develops 84 HP. It is fuel-hungry and not very powerful. The answer to the lack of power was a larger 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine. Its 110 HP efficiently drives the car, but it burns even more, even around 15 L100 km. And in fact, this is currently the only petrol unit available in used cars from before the facelift, because 1.8 and 2.0 are real rarities. The diesel range initially included the 1.9D engine with 60 HP, and from 1992 the supercharged version 1.9 TD with 68 HP. These were simple units, cheap to repair but very weak, rather for cities and short distances. The swirl chamber injection could not provide much power, but it is praised for its fairly low fuel consumption of around 7 to 8 L100 kilometers. A much better and most durable diesel engine in the opinions of users is the 5-cylinder 2.4-liter, also with a swirl chamber, in a naturally aspirated version with an output of 78 HP. This unit still has low power, but higher torque than the supercharged 1.9 TDI. This engine survived in almost unchanged form until the end of production. Power dropped to 75 hydrogen phosphide, similarly to the 1.9 TD. Throughout the production period, the 2.4D engine was the most popular. After the facelift, the T4 was presented with a 2.5 TDI engine from the Audi 100. The new units developed 88, 102, or 151 HP depending on the variant. The weakest version was not equipped with an intercooler. In turn, the most powerful version was only offered for the Caravelle and Multivan passenger cars. In Germany, the engines with the highest power, after being equipped with a DPF filter, could obtain a green badge allowing entry into city centers, because they met the Euro 4 standard. The 102 HP version was also converted to Euro 3 by adding a DPF. It is worth knowing about this, although rather as a curiosity. After the facelift, there were also changes in the area of petrol engines. The offer remained a 2.5-liter with power increased to 115 HP and a 2-liter, which sold very poorly. The offer was supplemented with a new design 2.8 VR6 generating 140 hydrogen phosphide, and from 2000 2.8 V6 with power as much as 204 HP. The more powerful version was offered only with an automatic transmission, which significantly reduced its potential. The automatic was also paired with 2.4 and 2.5 diesels and 2.5 petrol. In all cases, these were classic gearboxes with a 4-speed converter. Manual gearboxes have 5 gears. An option for some engine variants was the Synchro 4-wheel drive. This is a solution with a multi-plate clutch that automatically engages the rear axle. Optionally, such cars were equipped with a rear differential lock. Which engine to choose? Although petrol engines are quite tempting due to their simple design and the possibility of powering them with gas, in practice, they do not work out very well, and actually only in a nice car, or, for example, one equipped with an automatic transmission, do they make sense. They burn so much that the difference between LPG and diesel will be small, and we lose space for a gas tank. The exception here is the VR6 or V6 variant, very similar in design, which can be appreciated for its dynamics and sound. But this is more of a collector's car than a utility car. The most popular are diesels, which are also very simple designs, and at the same time use the fuel that is most abundant in companies. Contrary to appearances, this is very important. For a private person, the only diesel that makes sense is the 2.5 TDI due to performance, but for work each variant works great. The most highly valued is the armored 2.4D engine, which easily makes mileage of 600 to 800,000 kilometers. It is the golden mean, a compromise between the two-week 1.9 and the more complicated 2.5 TDI. In my opinion, and not only mine, It is the best engine in this car, although it lacks power. If you are buying a car for trips abroad, a safe choice is a diesel because of its huge popularity. Not every mechanic abroad will want to repair a petrol engine. Typical faults: the engines in the T4 are very durable, but of course in many copies extremely neglected. You have to take into account that when these cars arrived with a mileage of about 100–200,000 kilometers, the odometers were spinning at a great speed, which in practice may mean that a copy with a mileage of 600,000 kilometers is already close to 1 million. You shouldn't worry too much about engine sweating or minor leaks in rubber hoses, because this is practically standard. Although repairs are quite time-consuming in such cases, it applies to almost every model. Typical faults is too strong a term because none of these engines have them. When buying, you need to check whether the engine starts properly, doesn't stall, doesn't overheat, doesn't make suspicious sounds, and that's it. The most delicate and risky units are the 2.5 TDI and the 2.8 VR6. Both are quite susceptible to overheating, which results from their high power, heavy load, and improper servicing of the car, including a dirty radiator and a faulty cooling system. The later 2.8 V6 was better developed in this respect, although here the timing chain requires frequent inspection. Additionally, the 2.5 TDI with the highest power has a dual-mass flywheel as the only engine in the range, and it is worth checking it during a test drive. Negligence often results in a broken timing drive, which should be replaced as soon as possible after purchase. In every engine except 2.8, there is a belt drive with a fairly low durability. It is recommended to replace it even every 60,000 kilometers, i.e. every third or fourth oil change. In 2.8 it is enough to check the chain, but it is also recommended to replace it every approximately 200,000 kilometers. What can happen in such a car? Practically everything. Electrics often fail due to corrosion of wires and unprofessional repairs, but also due to ordinary faults. As a result, equipment elements including indicators and lights are prone to failure. Injection pumps or injectors may require regeneration, although they are resistant to low-quality fuels. Turbochargers, despite their very high durability, may also need to be replaced after decades of use. That is why the biggest certainty is the 2.4 diesel. Rather than faults, you should think in terms of how the car was used and look at the owner. Cars that, for example, took people to work in Germany may have huge mileage, but they will be in better condition than those that drove around town or short distances, or took workers to construction sites or tourists to the trail. The main problem with cars is corrosion. It occurs absolutely everywhere, but the most dangerous is the one on the chassis. Special attention should be paid to the suspension mounting points, especially the upper shock absorber mounts and the wishbone bushes. You have to be careful with preserved cars, especially before sale, and those that have undergone bodywork repairs quite recently. When such repairs are made, it is usually not for sale, but for further long-term use. In general, the car is very durable, so everything that breaks down is only due to wear and tear or huge neglect. When buying a T4, you should not be afraid of defects, but of the condition of the car. Although the opinions about the model are generally positive, and 90% of people would buy this car again, there are also extremely negative ones. And it is impossible to resist the hypothesis that these people bought extremely neglected, accident-prone, or simply sloppily repaired cars. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know any problems with this car that I didn't mention, be sure to write about them in the comments.